in total. We played 3 matches for Incredible Miracle, I believe it was, or maybe StarTale, actually, yeah, it would have been, last season. He's 3-0 versus Rogue, so that's something else to keep in mind. He's never dropped a map versus this guy. And that's something that goes into this match, giving you a bit of a mental edge over your opponent. It's such a mentally focused match. Your builders, your strategy are so important in every mirror matchup. Strategy is way more important than it is in any other matchup. Rogue 14-6, yeah, much more accomplished. That's an incredible win rate, actually. 14-6. And a decent matchup versus Zerg as well. I think it was 6-4 there. 0-3 versus Curious in 2-0 Ace matches. A big heavy hitter, starting to approach being a better heavy hitter than Maru for Jin Air coming into this. The map is Cactus Valley. 4-player map, the ZVZ map of this round. We're seeing it every time. Let's go into this. Curious versus Rogue. Curious needs a win, otherwise Jin Air takes it 3-1. I'm Wolf. Let's jump into this map. The top right in red. The man with the plan. The DreamHack champion. It's Curious. To the bottom left. In blue. Jin Air Green Wings. It is Rogue. Who allowed him to be blue on this map in ZVZ with the creep? Where's the ref? I need to talk to him. Okay. He should basically be banned. Also, his team is green, and they play green every time. This is strange. So, early pools are the first thing to look out for here. We are cross-spawn, so if you like roaches, and then transitioning into more roaches, and then perhaps even later on in the game, some more roaches, and then in the late game, like a few more roaches, and then like more upgrades for the roaches, then you're going to be in a good spot here. You're going to enjoy this one. Now, there's a chance that we see Mutalists into more Mutalists, which is the other variation of this matchup at cross spawns on this map. Speedling all in is possible. Totally possible. Baneling's obviously coming into that a lot of the time because, you know, makes the all in a little bit more strong. Roach timings, like a timing we'd see from Sue. Like Sue probably the best player in the world at doing +1 Roach timings in this matchup. Really tough to pull off because the third base is so far away from you, just because your opponent is so far away from you in general. And we do see the safe pool come down for Rogue. Or excuse me, from Curious, and Rogue is the one who's going to take the, the early mental edge, that early expansion. So this does give him a slight lead. Early pools versus pool first, or rather early pools versus hatch first. The hatch first player does get the creep spread up faster. They do get the larva faster. They do get the saturation faster. But their opponent gets a faster queen, which means more larva earlier on their first hatch, and they're safer. So there's trade-offs to both. It's not like going, if you're going in like, I'm trying to think of another similar example. It's not like if you got a fast third base in TVP and your opponent didn't scout it, and then you're like way ahead. It's not that big of an advantage to have an expansion this early, because even if you look at the production tab, we're talking like 20, 30 seconds difference. So now we'll see what happens here for Curious, because he is taking his own gas. Rogue did take a very greedy gas, so he even went gas before pool, so he's massively heading this way. His overlords will meet to the bottom right, which will let both players know immediately which way they want to reroute their overlords to scout. But it's going to be a while before they can see anything. So part of the reason why a pool first is also good is Curious will have these links earlier on to go and scout with. He's going to get information a little bit faster than Rogue can, because his pool is only just now starting. He's going to want to make his own 4 links to do the same. But obviously they're a bit slower. They're a bit later. So there's obviously trade-offs in ZVZ. Okay. Takes the watchtower. Sees no lings on the way. That often alone is enough of a tell that he's going for a little bit more of a greedy build. He's going to see these first 2 lings popping out here. And actually, Curious only made 2 lings of his own versus the 4 of Rogue. They come out in 2 sets because they came from 2 hatcheries. And he knows the timing here, basically, based on the creep spread and whatnot of what he's up against. Don't hurt that hatch. What did you do? Lings coming across now. Like I said, it was 4-2, so Curious makes his own additional set of 2 lings to help defend at home. Baneling Nest goes down for Rogue. He's got the much faster link speed. This is most likely just defensive. And that's exactly what Kanata behind me just said, saying it's definitely not an attack. I'm listening to Korean casters. They're my shadow buddies tonight, helping me commentate this. I'd say Zerg versus Zerg play my least knowledgeable matchup. I'll give you guys the best I can. Nice kill here by Curious. Gets one drone. Oh, no way. And he gets a scout as well. Oh, if he actually could just sit around and see that there's 14 lings on the way. It is going to be a timing attack here. At least a very aggressive move. This is not an all-in because he's droning behind this, and he's keeping his drone count quite high. But it's definitely something that could catch Curious off guard and get him a nice little advantage. Oh, this is a great catch. He's definitely going to have to cancel those. Curious is probably just going to start a spine at home as well because he knows now what is the potential of coming. Starts that spine crawl immediately. You guys can see on the production tab. His own speed will finish here. And wow, this Baneling might get 2 kills. I'm surprised he didn't cancel it. Look, he sees all these lings. He's got his own defensive Banelings coming up. He just needs to block the ramp, and he should be fine. But with the droning that we saw earlier, like I was saying, we have you know, a solid, decent position for Rogue back at home. He also has the faster lair. So this is just a move to force Curious to respond, maybe make him freak out a little bit. And if he gets lucky, you know, worst case scenario at this level, a good player who's attacking like this with high level control like Rogue is, worst case scenario he trades even. Best case scenario gets damaged on. This is how this matchup works. So it looks like we're actually going to see Spires. And this is the more exciting variation. Roaches are gone. They're nowhere to be seen. We could see a Roach Warren go down for either player in a moment, even still. But it's unlikely. Good control here by Rogue, trying to snipe that one Baneling. Ooh, 1 health on that Bane. Oh, he gets it. Nice. That was a great move by Rogue. First Spire comes up for Rogue. Curious has more than enough gas in just a second when that lair finishes to get his own. Just a few seconds behind. And he's about 20 gas behind. So Mutalisk counts for these two to start things off are going to be very similar. The next phase is who gets the third base first because those extra gases are so important. And with the ling count for both players this high, it's very difficult for either to even consider doing so. Looks like Curious is going to be the one who bravely tries to go for that quicker third base, which obviously means his ling count is going to suffer. A good Baneling hit would be important here. It would be nice to have. It's going to be 2 for 2 Banelings there. And it looks like Curious actually is not going to be pushed back here. He got a little bit of a better surround, but the next wave of lings will push him back, so he has to go back. Looks like he wants to try to hide some Banes, but gets spotted again. Both players so good at this matchup. You can see in their play, you can see in their movements, they know exactly what the other is thinking. And because of this, you could see even Curious was trying to make those Banelings, and he was like, nah, I can't do this. Okay, this is just not going to work. Okay, so just cancel those. I guess if you don't cancel them, you still get the money back anyways, and it keeps the lings occupied for longer, so perhaps maybe canceling not the worst idea. All right, well, it's going to try to do the same here, but with the queen there and the extra lings, it's not going to happen. So if this base does get up, it's going to be great for Curious. Oh my god. Got to be so careful versus those Banelings. But Rogue, again, just a few seconds behind with his own base. So he's... You know, he made a lot more lings earlier, but he transitioned. They're both at very even worker counts. They're both at very even ling counts. This looks like a Starcraft 1 ZVZ, except with Banelings. I imagine this is probably what like a Starbow ZVZ looks like. Don't quote me on that. I love that game, but I haven't played it in a long time. I definitely don't play Zerg. But, you know, if you combine StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2 ZVZ, this is what it would look like. Does shut those down. But both players know this is a Mutalisk game at this point. The gases are up much faster, much faster for Curious. Look at the gas count. 240 versus 100. That's 2 extra Mutalisks, and he's already at 8-5. The player with the more gas wins this matchup because more gas means more Mutalisks. It's just, I mean, it's just that simple. Like, I just wrote a book with those words. I just wrote a guide. Like, you can just take that audio clip and put it on the internet, like Wolf's Guide to Muta versus Muta. Get more gas on your opponent, make more Mutalisks. Okay, so look at this. Curious is making 5 meters to 2. Going to put him about 3 meters ahead, I believe. Just kind of switching between tabs on my PC. Now, control of the overlords is another thing that you can do to get ahead. And ling run buys, of course, are the name of the game with your minerals. You spend all your minerals on lings, all your gas on mutas. And already Curious forcing some overlords to be remade. He's really dominating. this mid game right now. Okay, Banelings to go for gas drones here. Ooh, good reaction, but no! No, that's terrible. That means he can actually go for a big Ling attack at that third base, at the very least keeping the Mulus of Curious at bay. That was a huge, huge attack there. And now that these Mulus are out of position, can do so much damage here. Lynx and Mulus hitting this third base. He's going to kill the Queen and kill a lot of gas drones. A huge, lapse in reaction time there, I guess you could say, from Curious. Losing those Lings, costing him big. Mulus count 22-20 right now in Curious's favor. Worker count's dead even with those remade Lings. Ling count similar as well. Look at that, 14 Lings to 14 Lings. These guys are like dead on point with each other on injects. That's something that will change after that Queen death that we saw earlier from Curious. And all those Lings that just went down there. The +1 is a little bit faster for Rogue as well. And they both already have the +1 armor. Uh-oh, this is a better count for Curious. Rogue needs to get away. Every time he turns, there's potential for damage, but it's too risky to keep chasing like that, especially when Lings are coming in as the Mulus are drawn away. These Queen assassinations are going really well for Rogue. He's going to eliminate Larva, which means it's harder for him to keep making Lings. Because you've always got the money for Lings, but if you don't have the Larva, it doesn't matter. Look at the mineral count for Curious. You can see he's struggling to make those Lings, so he's waiting for Larva. So his Lings are behind, which means these Lings can do damage. And this starts to snowball. Now, the rest of this game, going into later stages of it, can go several ways. Oh my god, this could happen here. This fight might happen. 28-28. Curious is actually eventually going to have to turn and fight if Rogue wants to have him here. Oh, look at this. Rogue, knowing the Mulus are normally rallied to each other, tries to catch these two and should be able to do so. Ooh, incredible control. The transition point in this game is going to be one player eventually loses control and adds spores and goes for infestors. By the way, Rogue at 32-29 meters right now and is killing a lot of drones. Meanwhile, Curious kills a lot of drones on the other side of things and is killing that Queen. These Lings will be cleaned up. But ends up being a fairly even trade on both sides, especially because Curious got that Queen. Worker counts slightly ahead for Rogue because he got the slightly better trade there. +1 is done for Rogue. That's not the case yet for Curious. So he might be looking for a fight here, if he can click and identify this. Okay, they're going to fight. This is a much better fight for Rogue to take. Curious does not have the +1 attack. 7 seconds to go. But he does have the defender's advantage. And a Queen as well. And now that the attack finishes, the rest of his Mulus come in. But he actually Thundersteps way too much. Way too much move command there from Curious. This trade is like the most even Mulus fight I have ever seen. I think the bounce damage was much better favoring for Curious there because of the angle of where those Mulus were. They were much more spread out. Anyways, as you can see, Rogue takes a supply lead here because he remaxes in a ton of Lings. And he killed a ton of workers as well. Now going to try to get this Overlord, but he cannot lose his Mulus. This is such a close game. Look at these supplies. By all rights, that fight should have gone to Rogue, but it didn't. And now Curious has the better Mulus count. And if this continues, Rogue will eventually have to add spores and make Infestation Pit, but it looks like he wants to instead start winning by ground. The Mulus counts for both players have been reduced so significantly he's trying to bait these Mulus away while these Banelings and Lings go for run-bys at the natural. It's going to happen again. And if these Mulus are out of position, which is exactly what he's trying to bait here, then this could do a lot of damage. Okay, he needs to target these Banelings down. Needs to target those. Uh-oh, where's the target? Okay, that was very close. He actually splits his Mulus. And a lot of these Lings just kind of do minimal damage. 5 drones killed until he's going to target a few more down here. It's actually up 12, 13 Harvesters now. This is starting to make a dent. And look, Spore Crawler is going up at home. And Infestation Pit, he knows he's done enough damage to where the Mulus count is not going to snowball. He cannot sustain this many Mulus. He has to remake drones. And if he tries to go for a counterattack with the Mulus count that advantage, he's going to have these spores to defend him, and eventually we'll go into those infestors. Only one spore, though, is not going to cut it if Curious decides to do a big engagement. He can actually just avoid that and engage another location. The Queen count right now for Rogue is just simply at 3-0 of Curious. He has 0 Queens. Has not been able to remake those. He took so much damage. The spore gets targeted. It's gone. And now this actually could snowball out of control. He doesn't have any defensive Banelings at home, though. He could actually try to base trade this if he had defensive Banelings at home. This is going to be tough to do. He's going for the Infestation Pit first. Looks like this is going to be an elimination race. If he had spores of his own and more banelings at home, he could definitely defend this. He's trying to get his own spores. 2 of them will finish. He's going to kill this hatch. He's now going for the main base. Going to try to kill any links he can, any drones he can. These spores get forced to cancel. And this is actually tough to call who's going to win. More spores are needed for Rogue right now. And also, keep in mind, Curious lost a lot of drones. He needs to escape with drones in order to remake structures on the map. He only has 9 drones left. I don't think any of them are on the map. Ground Army will beat the buildings faster, but if it comes to a fight where you can protect a building, that's when the Mulus count advantage that he has is going to be important. Okay, those drones are so important. If he loses those, he's not going to be able to hide buildings. He's now trying to finally start to hide those. Going to target down the Spire. There's so many spores here as well. I don't think he can actually kill this mining base. So Rogue is continuing to mine and continue making spore crawlers. He's actually remaking his natural right now. Okay, we're going to see this Mulus fight. He splits a few of these off. He's going to lose a lot of these Mulus. But Curious is still significantly down in supply, and this base is still mining. A bit surprised Rogue is trying to fight him with Mulus. He does have the +2 armor, something that Curious does not have. But I feel like he could just almost overwhelm with ground. I guess another issue is he doesn't have a lot of larvae, because he's only got 1 hatch. Oh, the Spore is not ready, and he's got a huge upgrade advantage. Okay, now the Spore is ready. He can't stay here, though. Curious will continue to mine from this base. Drone's being targeted down. Can go ahead and kill this base if he can. The bounce damage is starting to work on that Spore. No cancel. Gonna kill this Overlord. Gonna kill the Spire as well. Curious is using his mobility here to the best of his ability. More Spores would be great, I feel, for both players. Like, Spores are so good at defending Mulus, and they're so cheap. He's trying to kill drones with the bounce damage. He wishes that Extractor didn't die. He's like, please. Okay. It's actually out of range of the Spore with most of his Mulus. He's going to try to kill his hatch. This is Curious' last mining base. And these Mulus need to escape. I feel like Rogue is just playing this late game better, to be simply honest with you guys. Like, Curious is making weird decisions. He waited too long. He didn't escape with any drones. And he let the Spores go up in the natural, so he can never kill that. Then, with the mining base he had for so long, the Ground Army, like I said, is really what's going to be the game winner. The building killer. 1 drone left. He's going to try to fight these Mulus. But he's got no hatches left to stand on, which means if he loses any of his extractors, the rest of his buildings are going to bleed out. And he can never kill Rogue's base. There's too many Spores there. Okay, going to try to kill these. GG. All right. JIN takes their first win. Well done. Rogue is able to do it in that crazy ZBZ there. A lot of back and forth, a lot of Mulus. Better decision-making in the late game. Getting his Spore Crawlers up faster. Better crisis management. A lot of indecision from Curious, deciding not to defend and then not attacking, committing. Not targeting well. Not hiding drones. Went down to 9 Harvesters. He was 1 base versus 1 base with almost mined out. Natural with 9 drones versus a fully mining base with full patches. With Spore Crawlers defending it. Queens defending it. Overlords pulled back. Curious trying to use his mobility there at the end. His better Mulus count with the Ground Army much more mobile. Slings are faster. And that's it. JIN will take the win. And it's very important, of course, for their indicator points. And let's take a look at the scores. SOS, Trap, and Rogue. 3 wins in a row. Only Maru loses to DRG. And Echo does not happen. So a solid win here for JIN. Yes, I know that Prime was defeated by JIN, but I don't really take that as a victory. JIN, of course, brought their A game versus Prime and took that 3-0 because they needed the indicator points. But this is a real victory here. This is a victory that's going to actually get you somewhere morale-wise. And it's going to give them some indicator points to try to push them back into the playoffs. Playoffs are really important for them because it is possible JIN could get knocked out of the grand final playoffs. They have not secured a spot. And if they get a higher seed going to that, of course, it means they get to skip an important, scary